or 2 years.
But
Can't
just
happen.
to clarify, you are working on a new formula to correct this.
I'm working on a formula to correct it because what we need to do now, because again, 20 years, there's a wealth factor involved also in the formula. And 20 years ago, the comparison between Buffalo and Yonkers was a little closer than it is now because of the development, because of the economic growth. The amount of need in Buffalo or Rochester as opposed to Yonkers is very different. But we do have more kids coming in. So we have a formula that we passed in the Senate. I passed it in the Senate. We're waiting for the Assembly that will start allowing them to get more money based on the increased head count.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McLaughlin, I'd like to get your perspective on this. You mentioned that you're a CPA. What steps could be taken to correct this?
Well, first of all, just the whole attitude of the Senate. The current Yonkers City Council, I have to say I'm actually very offended by some of those comments there, that the city amount did not step up, as if the city taxpayers were not doing their job. They did their job, and they did more than their jobs. They did a lot more than the people of Buffalo, Syracuse, and Rochester, and I wish the senator would be more of an advocate for the city of Yonkers and the people of the 35th Senatorial District rather than an apologist for Albany. What I have seen is that there is no formula. The current city council went up at its typical legislative negotiations, and they were asked for a copy of the formula. It's never been provided. If the senator has a formula, has access to a formula, I'd love to have it. I'll give you my email address. I'd love to take a look at that. But in the 10 years I was on the council, up until now, I have not seen any formula. What's going on in Albany is continuing to hurt the children of the city of Yonkers. The taxpayers of the city of Yonkers have borne far more of a financial burden educating their children than anywhere else around the state. Maybe Buffalo, Syracuse, and Rochester have difficult financial times. The city of Yonkers also has difficult financial times and great challenges. I'm not going to sit back anymore and listen to, well, you got to see what it's like up in Buffalo. I'm sorry. I'm here to represent the 35th Senatorial District, and I will do everything I can to make sure to bring each and every tax dollar I can back to that district.
Can we circle back to what specific steps you would take to correct the funding formula?
Well, without ever seeing a formula, it's difficult to tell you how to correct it. First of all, I'd have to see a formula. There isn't one. I've never seen one. Depending upon the different factors that are involved, if there's wealth factors involved, then maybe I have to make sure the cost of living is factored into the thing. So without seeing a formula, it's difficult to tell you how I can adjust it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
My question, and I'll begin with you, Senator, it goes about the voter anger out there. We've seen this coast to coast. We've seen it in statewide races. We've seen it in state legislative races. We've even seen incumbents losing primaries. Along with the good folks I own and the poll that was commissioned, one of the questions that was posed was asking if the New York State government has become so ineffective, it's time to vote out all current officials out of office and elect new people to serve. The answer, 59% agreed with clearing out the entire state legislature right now and starting all over again. How do you respond to so many constituents who said, enough's enough, let's start all over?
Before I answer that, I just wanted to just quickly say my explanation was just that. It wasn't an apology. It was an explanation just to explain how we got here. And as I said, I've brought more every year and will continue to do that. In terms of the voter anger, what I do is exactly this. We educate. That's why I said this forum is extremely important, because I remember speaking to a police captain, and I said, look, here's the reality. Sometimes, officers are accused of doing things that, aren't good. But would you, as a police officer, advocate to throw out every existing police officer and bring in new people and give them a badge and a gun? Absolutely not. I said I trust the voters. I think the voters may say that, but the reality is, if each of us who are serving their constituents, are trusted and have been working for these constituents, I believe they will make discerning decisions. I went to Albany to reform Albany. I knew it was bad. I understood the problems, and what people have to understand, that it's not the people, it's a system that is so entrenched and so tied up without, as I said, the structure, the accountability. It was, we have money, we have control. MTA could be a patronage mill, was a patronage, 700 authorities. The reality is that it has spiraled out of control long before this moment. But this moment is the moment that we have to begin fixing it, and I want to be part of that.
Exempt yourself and the job that you've done. If you were home in Yonkers and the pollster called you up and asked you that same question, what would you say?
Well, I would say exactly what I said. I would look at my representative and determine whether or not I would say no. I don't think everybody should be thrown out because, as I said, it's a very entrenched system. Some of the people are obviously entrenched. I'm not one of those. I've been there, as I said, less than 4 years. So.
And trust me, I got a tougher one than softball that I'll start with you. But how would you answer that same question? Because remember, you got a lot of Republican colleagues. Do you think Albany would be better off starting from scratch?
Well, it certainly seems that way, and I think the voters definitely believe that way. Part of the problem is, and I don't know if it's what happens seemingly when you go to Albany, but we were told when the senator was running that on day one everything was going to change.
It did?
And it did. It changed for the worse. And that's the problem. And the public sees that, and they're tired of it. They're fed up with it. They see a legislature that can't vote a budget on time, that can't even get together to have meetings, that continues to collect stipends when they go to Albany to do absolutely nothing. Gavel in and gavel out meetings and collect $171 a day and say, well, they're not getting paid. Well, they are getting paid, and on top of it, they get reimbursed for travel.
But if it's a system, though, as you're talking about it, it's a broken system, and there seems to be agreement there. You going up to Albany, how does it change the system?
I'm going to change the system because I'm not going to go along with the status quo. And there's other steps that can be taken. I mean, the Journal News did an article on what they called the Platinum Legislature, detailing the cost, the increased costs in the state of New York of this legislature. In it, they highlighted my opponent's office expense of $650,000 for her office expense. Well, what does she do in answer to that? She sends out a very detailed, color glossy mailer that goes out, looks like very much like a campaign piece on taxpayer dollars. Now, this is probably about a $50,000 piece of taxpayer money that was mailed out to constituents 5 weeks before Election Day. Here's another part of the problem, abuse in the system. Birthday cards, ladies and gentlemen, that get mailed out at taxpayer expense. Here it is, wishing people, this one, my mother, a happy birthday. Well, you know what? The average person mails out their own birthday cards. Why don't they? That's the problem. These are the types of abuses that cannot take place and do take place
Do you wish to
very
respond?
obviously.